Hey everybody, it's FancyKnightMan here. Today we're going to go ahead and look at a 2015-minute classical rated game that I played just yesterday with lib2014. It's a pretty low rated player just like me. Not, well, 200 points low rated. I talked to him after the game and before the game actually, and he said that he wanted me to overview this game for him, and I would post it on YouTube, and I would notify him whenever it's get posted. Um, Good morning or good afternoon for wherever you're from. Um, let's get started. Okay, so the game's kicked off with e4. He was white, I was black. E4. I played Sicilian, and he played this kind of anti-Sicilian move, which is okay. I mean, it's not bad. I played knight up here, but I don't know. I like. Well, I guess that's fine. Yeah, that's the line that I usually play, anyways. Knight f6, basically throwing a punch at. Well, I'm doing it on light chess, so I can draw arrows and draw circles. By the way, throwing a punch at this pawn, forcing it to either move up or be defended awkwardly by this pawn, and in worst case scenario, this pawn you'll have an awkward pyramid structure, maybe. So that's my plan whenever I play this anti-Sicilian. He advanced it. Knight moves out of the way. Nothing special here. D4. And usually, I think what the correct move is to capture. And capture. And after this, recapture the center, just development of the knight. And this is a safe center. You can crack at it, just like a, what is it called? Alapin's defense. Crack in the center. Crack at these two central pawns once you take and take. So take. And then once you have this kind of center, you can take a crack on these central pawns. Knight here, defend the center, and this kind of thing. If takes, then just take with queen. And it's kind of like a Scandinavian Alapin's defense, you know. You also get this. Hold on. Yeah. So that's the main idea with black when you play this kind of Alapin variation. It says Alapin right there, so I'm going with it. But instead what I played was that I played the move e6. Now, e6 is okay for me. The problem is that it allows white to sort of get the attack with the bishop. It allows white to get time, which is what he did. This is perfect right here. The move that he made, bishop here, was perfect. Yeah, I loved it because it not only attacked my knight, it forced it to move to a bad square. Now normally this would be okay for the Alapin player, but continuation like this, going to this square, and then the bishop can simply retreat to this direction or retreat in this direction, and everything would be fine. There's no issues here on the white side, and there's no issues here. Well, there's the only issue on the black side is the knight being developed, and so white, as a result, can get a king side attack. Uses pawn side majority here. It's not a majority, but a pawn side storm to attack the king. It's not like the king is going to be mated no matter what. I mean, black's not just going to lay over and let this happen. But it's possible now. With this bishop being able to maneuver here, aiming at the king's side, this second bishop here, this queen easily going to this square because the absence of this knight to this square, to defend this square. And so, I think what he should have done is back up and then go for this kind of king side attack with the remaneuvering of the bishop, paired with the queen going to the square and this bishop being able to go to this square. Queen potentially can go to this square as well. Like I said. But instead, what he did was move the bishop again. And it's not a bad move to move the bishop twice. It's just not a good move to move the bishop to that square. A simple move that I could have done is probably queen pawn there, forcing the bishop to go back. And after expansion, I believe. Or not even, he can't even go that way. He just have to move all the way back, actually. Because if I do this, bishop can't go there because knight captures. So this knight's useful in a way to restrict the bishop of this movement. So this movement was inaccurate, I believe, because bishop b3 probably would have been better. But instead I went knight c6, which is an inaccuracy on my part. But what he did do is he moved the same piece a third time instead of developing. I would have recommended knight here, which is what the computer actually recommends. So let's go through that line. Knight here, pawn here. You don't want to en passant, really, because that just allows the freedom of my pieces via this square, and if captures, and actually you don't want to also be smart this way, because captures, and after queen captures king. I think this position is fine because of the bishop here. Although black can't castle, after white castles, simple king movement here. What do we find? Bishop development, rook over, and these rooks are connected, and everything is just fine. So there's no issues here. So this let's not make him castle is not a great idea. Black would be further in development. White would just have these pieces in the back rank, or at least these two pieces in the back rank, while black has all their pieces out, and these guys are having a party. Okay, so it was played as bishop captures c6, which live chess finds an inaccuracy, and I decided to capture towards the center because that would strengthen my control of d5, and after this kind of push, I can take here, and after recaptures, I can go again. So let me show you what I'm thinking about. So in the game, white played knight f3 finally, which is fine. But what I was thinking of eventually is for this to happen, castles, this sort of thing to happen, and I can undermine this structure really easily. I was also having in mind, with my pawn majority in the center, I wanted to increase the power of my pawn majority, so something like this to undermine this structure here by taking out the head of the pawn chain. But this is only possible after I castle. For if I do it after knight f3, if I do it now, then just captures, queen captures, bishop here. This is not a comfortable position for me. Awkward development of my pieces. Okay, so it was played here as knight f3, and light chess already says I have an advantage. A small advantage, but it's an advantage nonetheless. It's an advantage in the center. As you can see, I have a glob of pawns in the center that can easily get to overwhelm the army of the white. So bishop a6, that's what I played. I played this to restrict the king from castling, stopping the activity of this rook. Only way this rook is becoming active is if he does something like this. He plays bishop g5, which is not a bad move. And then I made a mistake. It's okay for people to make mistakes. Everybody has those days. What I played, according to light chess, this is a mistake. What I played was bishop to this square. And what I did this giving up the bishop pair. Bishop pair in chess is really strong because these bishops complement each other, and they can both go far on the board. So having the bishop pair is like 0.5 of a pawn, half a pawn basically. This reason is because and this only applies if the opponent doesn't have the bishop pair. If you don't have the bishop pair and your opponent has the bishop pair, you should strive to get rid of that bishop pair. Really. So I played this. It's inaccuracy because queen b8 would have been more accurate. Still defending against this after this d5 push, still being able to capture on the square, and also just getting out of the way of this bishop. After the move here to try to get this blockade going, I could have captured. After queen captures, pawn push, queen back, pawn up, and this should be a good position. But what I played was bishop here, and the computer considers this a mistake because I'm giving up the bishop pair. And really what he has is the activity of the pieces now. So after captures, what we see happen is white trying to get this, well, white ignoring this idea of trying to castle. He really should get ready to castle in this position, because this white bishop is just being too active. Even though it's technically a bad bishop because my pawns in the center are in the same color of the bishop, my bishop's cutting through the board, as you can see, taking control of these squares. Taking control of these squares. and as a result, the king can't castle. This rook's going to be inactive, and the pieces aren't as flexible. The queen can't go to this square or this square. Queen's restricted to only these squares right now. To move like queen a4 would have been probably good. Now let's actually take a look at that. Queen a4. No, you can't play queen a4. Knight. So this is, yeah, you would really need to do this right now, or just to see the center. So that after queen captures, you can secede the center after queen captures. What you would have is this accelerated move. Reason why I say accelerated is because you can't really just do this. Because if you do this and just en passant, and after en passant, you would have to bring the rook over to put more pressure, and then you can just finally lock up this diagonal and finally get castled. This wouldn't be so bad for white. So I know it's an awkward idea to secede the center, but in this position, seceding the center, giving up the center is what I mean, would be fine because of the line that we just went through. Instead, he went knight b to d2, which is not a good idea. What he's trying to do is trying to get the c4 advance with a piece. But even if that c4 advance was played now, so let's make a nothing move there. This c4 advance wouldn't work because knight captures would just move material, castles, knight captures, and this is just a bad move or a bad position. Down 2 pawns. Not gonna be fun. Knight b to d2. So I guess I can see what the idea is coming from, helping support the c4, but it could be faster play with pawns. You know, get your pawns working with pawns. Don't make your pieces have to help the pawns. Their pieces can do other things. They can attack pawns. They can do something active. I want to really emphasize that your pawns defend pawns. Sometimes you just have to tie down the pieces to the pawns, but you don't want to. You know. So I decided to castle here to prepare this f6 advance. Nothing really special there. Maybe capturing here would have been gooder. Peter says rook b8. Oh, that's Matt. That's me. I said rook b8. And then he played b3. But this is too little too late. If I capture on his square, if knight captures, there's an issue. Let me show you guys. And the idea of this knight capturing is that you can still do this advance. The bad plan comes out of the form of queen c5, which I saw. This pawn can't move. This knight can't, because of this defense of this knight. White's gonna have to waste another move getting that knight out of the way. If knight here, it just captures. So that just fails. So after capturing that pawn, you would have to capture with your pawn. So that's what happened. Capture, and white correctly capture with pawn. And in this position, live chess engine, I don't know what engine they're using, says that I'm up a pawn because this bishop is restricting the king. It's not like white is down material, but it is like white's down material. White can just basically play without this rook on the board. If I could take this rook off the board, he's not doing anything productive. So, what I played next was f6 to undermine this center and also get my pieces going. Whenever the king is in the center and it can't castle, you want to open up lines towards the king. So that's exactly what I did. F6 does that. And then after queen c2, we have this capturing in the center, right? Yeah, capturing in the center, knight captures z. And I can't do this advance, correct? Yeah, I can't do this advance. Now, reason why is because if I do the advance, the knights can support each other. So let's see. Knights can support each other, and it would be a little messier in this position. This pawn's still hanging. Something like this could be played. Something has to be played to defend that pawn. Even though I have a pawn majority in the center, these knights are dominating the center. This e5 square is really useful to the knights. Really brings out the piece activity. So after this move, I went rook a to c8, which is not a bad move at all. It allows for my d4 advance. It also helped me a lot in the case that after d5. So what happened in the game was knight e to c4, but after knight to this square, what happens is that I can have this knight in a stronger outpost, and then I can just kick this knight, and this square isn't useful anymore. These two squares aren't useful for the white side, actually. So, in this position, white would have to go to the square. So maybe this is what white saw, and said, well, why not just go to that square right away? So white did this, knight, e to c4, yeah, e to c4. Not e to c4. Sorry. And then what I did was I played d5. And d5 isn't the best move. It's a good move, but it's not the best move. It said light chess says that's a mistake. Rook c1. No, this is a mistake. Oh no, light chess does not say that's a mistake. It's a good move. After the knight recapture, so knight captured here, knight captured here. Oh, I'm not good with arrows, guys. After capturing this position, it's really one-sided. Now my center can just build up, and he tried activating his rook because he realized that his rook isn't doing anything. And then you can't really do much about your rook not doing anything. He played h4 to get this rook lift, to try to get some activity along this file, or one of these files. But I think it was too little too late, correct? I played c5. And Latcha says I'm up 4 pawns in this position because I have this discovered attack on the queen. I also have this pressure on the king, potentially. And white didn't make anything better by capturing. Whenever you have a lot of pressure on you, you usually want to trade off pieces. So that should be your goal right now. You have a lot of pressure on you. Just trade your pieces and try to hold the storm, you know? What I played next was rook c5, trying to get the file, which is perfectly okay, getting the file. Says the best move, for you was queen b2, which is fine. You're defending the center, trying to keep it as close as possible, trying to stop black from making advanced gains. You're 8 pawns deep in loss, but you gotta try hold out. No one ever won a game by resigning, basically, is what I'm saying. After rook captures c5, what was played was queen b2, and really, all it took from here to see that I can dominate the king and the queen was that I just need to see this open file, and that's what I played, open file. Light chess is a little picky. It says I should play queen d1, or not queen d1. It says I should play queen c7, which is a good move at all. Like, it's a good move. I just can't argue with that. But my move has the same idea, just easier to see for me. I also saw potential attacking this square after this rook gets to this square on this f7 square coordination, and so I wanted to get this idea going. And after rook a3, basically you're in a bad position. You're in a pickle because you're attacking my bishop. Sure, you're creating counter threats, but I believe my threats are stronger. My threats are very strong. So queen here, attacking this pawn, also threatening checks along this king side. And note that this bishop is restricting the king still. And after this, I think the move that you should have played, well, I think light chess says the move it. You played rook d1 because you saw this attacking the bishop from the rook. But really, the best move for you probably would have been just giving up that bishop, giving up material. This position is already lost, but you had to realize that there's no mating attack now, and as light chess says right here, checkmate is now unavoidable. After check, remember this king is restricted. This knight has to move in the way. So let's show you. Knight e4, queen captures e4, king d2, rook c2, checkmate. Alright, so that's basically the gist of this. Development of the pieces, trying to have a plan. Having this anti-Sicilian isn't going to win you the game. You got to find some sort of plan that you're going to implement. So my plan was to undermine your center. Let it grow big, undermine it. And my moves, although they weren't the most accurate, they still aimed at undermining the center. Note how there's this tension. If you ever take if you were to take my pawn here on this c5 square, the center is going to be really weak. Sure, you can do an f5 advance, but then just f6. And then after captures, I just have 2 central pawns. Capturing wasn't the best move, remember. Your plan is to strengthen your center and attack where your pawns are pointing. This is true in semi-closed positions and closed positions. And since you don't want to be en passant, and this is going to eventually happen, and the pawns are going to be fixed on this kind of structure, the pawn pointing rule applies. It's a semi-closed position. Semi-closed position means the pawns are sort of closed, like the pawns are sort of locked together, but not really, but they can, you know? So you should have been able to think of that. But instead what you did was capturing here, which gave me the advantage of the bishop pair, which is why light chess says 0.5, and then -6 because I have a big center. And all this pressure on you, and you have really no pressure. So what it did is this, preparing the castle, and what it rightfully did was bishop a6, just cutting off the king. Remember, my plan is to undermine center, so that I'm doing everything in my power to sort of get my pieces out and undermine your center. I'm controlling the center with my pawns and my pieces. Bringing out this bishop is really just a matter of solving the issue of a bad minor piece. You did rightfully so attack with the bishop, trying to get your pieces out as well, since you can't castle. Maybe even queenside castling would have been fine here, or probably here, and then knight here, and then queenside castling would have been fine here. Just because this rook is just out of the game, you can't have him in the game. It's like playing without a rook. So bishop here captures, knight b to d2, and again, your plan is to strengthen your center, try to get your pieces out around the center. So I think this advance would have been fine because then you can place your knight here. It also blocks off the bishop from attacking this pawn structure that's in this future. So let's say this now, capture. I think the issue would have been this, but then you can play c4, right? This queen's defending this. So something like that could have been played to strengthen the center, even though that's leaving this pawn unprotected. I think it still would have been a little better than what you did with this knight b to d, because it allows me to just gain initiative real quick, capture, and then from here, I think this position was just lost because I have a big pawn center. These pawns are connecting. They're gonna run up the board. That's a lot of pressure. Pawns can easily restrict pieces. You tried one last minute ditch effort to get the activity along this file to one of these squares. But what happened was I already striked in the center. A punch in the wings is a little weaker than a punch in the center, just because the punch in the center can open up so many lines towards the pieces that are in the center. And in this case, the piece in the center is the king. This bishop is doing an amazing job of restricting this king. Capture, queen here. Your idea was just to go this, try to get this bishop off this diagonal, hopefully, but too little too late, because this move, amazing, counterpunch. Just a very overwhelming move. 3 squares simultaneously, how do you defend against that? You didn't have much of a defense. Checkmate is now unavailable. Mate in 3. I probably should have had you guys guess the mate in 3, but it's fine. Queen check, knight, queen, rook. All right, so Lib, you're not a bad player actually. This anti-Sicilian, don't be afraid of the main lines. The main lines are really set to try to give players the advantage on either side. I mean, this sort of line with the Yugoslavs, let's see, is nothing to worry about. I mean, both sides do have attacking chances. And then both sides do have attacking chances. And it's really a matter of who can really get their attack going first. And usually black is quick to get their attack going. but white is also quick to get their attack going. Usually what I like to do is throw down this H-pawn, let them capture with the knight, and then throw this knight up to open up the H-file. Pry it open, really, is what I'm doing. Anyways, don't be afraid of the main lines. They're fine. I was afraid of main lines. I wanted to play something like knight f3 right away in the beginning of the game to get out of theory. But I would say spend a little bit of time on theory, try to learn some of the lines, and you'll turn out just fine. So that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully you got something out of it. Hopefully lib2014 got something out of it, and I will see you guys later. Thank you.